Welcome to the Basket Buds edition of the Athletic NBA Show podcast on the Athletic Podcast Network. I'm your host, Zach Harper. We got Mo Dakhil today. We got Dave DeFore, Jay King, coward, not showing up, not speaking to media availability.
Coward.
Coward. Absolute coward. Javon Edwards is going to join us mid-show. We have, man, I'll just tell you now, I'm having a hard time getting up for Celtics Sixers with this Joel Embiid injury. We'll talk about that. We will talk about Phoenix Suns having a 3.5-man rotation, depending on how you feel about Chris Paul or DeAndre Ayton in any given moment.
Yeah,
no. They're both 0.75.
Yeah, that's
so it's 3.5.
Yeah, it's you know, I would like it to be a 4-man rotation. I just don't know that I feel confident in saying that. Trying to make sure we're accurate here. We've got what the hell, Tibbs? Sweep the leg, for God's sakes. But we start off with yet another unbelievable, legendary Steph Curry moment. Guys, if you are still doubting this man, if you are still couching what he does, if you are still trying to like dumb down his legacy or anything, stop it. You sound stupid. He's a top 10 player of all time. I don't give a fuck who you got for the other 9. I just know he's in there. All right? You figure it out. I just know that dude is a top 10 player ever.
I already see people they're splitting hairs and they're being like, oh, he's at least the second best point guard ever. Nah, man. I don't know, buddy.
Well,
I don't know.
Magic's really good, man.
Yeah, so is Steph. So is Steph. Listen, he's doing this. I mean, the league has never had this much talent, and he is the cherry on top
the
of
most talented.
I mean, right. So this is where I come from when I'm looking at it. The guy is just a killer, man. I mean, 50 points in a game 7. Like, people like to talk about Steph and his legacy and like, when's he show up in big moments? And they mean like stuff like this, right? Like, oh, where's a 50-point game 7? Well, there it is. First one ever.
This all stems from him not winning the Finals MVP the first year they won a championship. This is where all that bullshit stems.
Dumb, by the way.
Dumb. Yes. No, absolutely
Andre
stupid.
Dumb
and all that. But like, this is where all this whole stuff stems from. He didn't even win the Finals MVP, which is dumb because it's down to like what 8 people vote on that. Like it's not even.
It's 11 people.
11. Yeah. Okay, but then on top of all that, just the fact that this team won 10 road games all year, and then their 2 biggest wins in the series, Game 5 and Game 7, on the road in Sacramento, and that place was rocking.
Mo, that's
until
not
Steph
fair.
Started kicking their
They
ass.
had 11 this year, okay? They
were
11 and 30. All right, let's not undersell what the Kings did on the road this year.
Well, how about this?
The Warriors did on the road
in a game where he missed 2 free throws in one trip to the free throw line. He scored 50 points.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's nuts.
The best part was when he made the next free throw and did the little celebration. I'm like, yeah, I can make it.
I did that once. I did that once in a rec league game where I think I missed like 3 or 4 free throws in a row, which is just like, I'm like, what the hell's happening right now? Like, I think that's not what. And so I missed three in a row, and so then on the 4th one I like did this weird squat. Oh, no. and shot it because I'm just like, I'm so frustrated with myself. The other team, I thought I was showing them up. I'm like, no, I'm showing myself up. Like, but it almost resulted in a fight.
But of course, you shocking. You get into a fight in a rec league game.
Yeah,
it never is, Zach. It never is.
Yeah.
The other thing that was super impressive in this whole game was his finishing. He was getting to the rim at will. And granted, some of that's the Kings defense, but finishing beautifully over traffic or through guys, around guys, like the stuff he was doing. There was one point where he tried to literally reach around, I think, Sabonis and finish. And I just called that a layup heat check because he missed it badly. But but like, he was so good at the rim. It was just like, he was like, I could try anything here.
Yeah.
It was an unbelievable performance.
It's one of the things that's a little bit frustrating about that series if you watch it assuming that the Warriors should have won. And they should have won sooner than 7 games. And all credit to the Kings. But game 1, he was waltzing to the basket and they just stopped. He stopped attacking the rim completely. Yeah. I mean, they could have done that all series because that's actually the thing about the Kings. And again, they had a great year. They don't have that kind of interior presence at all. I think that if you're looking at their summer to come, it's going to have to be how do you solve that?
This
Because
Alex
come
Len
playoff
erasure will
time,
not stand.
come playoff
hold
time,
on.
Sabonis erases himself.
Let's talk about that. All right. Let's talk about Sabonis. All right, man. Look,
because this is the knock.
Zach.
This is the knock, Zach. This is the knock.
Did he fucking
that he
sucks in the
can't
playoffs?
play in the playoffs,
Yes,
right? Like
that's the knock. Like
he can collect minutes all year long.
I was so like I'll reveal it now. He got my 5th place vote on the MVP. Because I was like, someone from the Kings has to. I really struggle between him and Fox. I just couldn't figure out, and I was like, okay, while Fox has been great, the slight the slight moment for me to kind of put Sabonis over the top was I was like, okay, his rebounding, his playmaking, his scoring, like he does all this stuff, right? League leading rebound, all this stuff, right? I was like, okay, that's just going to be slightly over the clutch play and just how good De'Aaron was, but they're both all NBA to me, like, but I just like I felt like I was splitting hairs, right? This motherfucker got out rebounded by 29 in this series by Kevon Looney.
Well, Kevon Looney is a championship.
It feels like
center.
in one game.
Kevon
like
Looney,
that was in one game.
Kevon Looney absolutely torched this guy on the boards, and it wasn't bad bounce here, bad bounce. He just outworked him. I don't give a damn that he had a shiner and a cut under his eye, all that stuff. That shit happens. You're a big man. You're gonna have contact, right? Like sucks, but that happens. Kevon Looney kicked his ass the entire series. I think Sabonis had like realistic, like you can look at boxers like he averaged this and he averaged that. You watch that, he was afraid to score the ball. He was afraid to go at Kevon Looney, and Sabonis just got his ass kicked the entire time. The absolute entire time.
Just no impact. Forget about
Zero.
the stats. Just you never felt him in this game. You never felt him in the series. Forget just game 7. Like really, even in their wins, it was, man, if they can get Sabonis going, they're really going to be rolling. And at that point, it was a struggle. And him struggling led to Herter struggling because they play so well off of each other in some of those instances. And I think that was just one of those things. Just zero impact from him in any way. He had one play where he bullied, I think, Draymond Green for a layup. And I was like, this is the Sabonis they needed. And this is the Sabonis that never showed up.
And I also think that it didn't allow De'Aaron Fox. I mean, De'Aaron Fox was really good in this series, especially when you factor in what was it, the last 2.5, 3 games, whatever it was. He's got that fracture on his finger. He was incredible. Like to me, battle tested, poised, no notes. Like I thought he was great. He defended. He chased Steph around. He was phenomenal. But Sabonis, man, trade him, get him out of there.
The thing is, he's just not a threat to score as anything but an offensive rebounder, really. And Mo, you mentioned when he played a little bully ball and got a bucket on Draymond, but Draymond, by that point, Draymond was just worried about getting the ball out of the basket so they can get back to offense. Things were just heating up, and it was one of those things where Draymond's like, my hands are up. You're I hope you're gonna miss, but if you don't, it doesn't matter because I'm pulling the ball out of the net and we're running on you. And it was the thing was, I think there's a little bit of it was a couple of things, right? Like the lights were a little bit too bright for the Kings, but the Warriors also just stopped playing around. Steve Kerr played his starters pretty much the entire second half, right? Like, did anyone sub out? I think Steph subbed out in the middle of the third with Draymond.
I think there was a little bit,
right. But there was a little bit of last rest moments,
right? The last 14 minutes or so, it was just, hey, these are our guys. They know how to do this, and they just went to work. And, I mean, Kevon Looney had one series where I felt like he got 7 offensive rebounds in like 2 possessions.
Yeah,
just unstoppable.
Yeah, it was Trey, like we're talking about Steph and look, I love the lore. I love the legend that we're building. I don't think we need a game 7 first round speech from a 4-time champion. I don't think that's needed, but at the same time, holy shit, like this dude is just historically a problem. Like Trey, like 50, you can say, oh, it's the first round, oh, it's on the Kings, oh, it's all that, whatever. No one had ever done it before. People played the Kings in the first round before. Never happened.
Shouts to Marcus Thompson and Shams for that, beautifully art that they created.
Yeah.
But also, it was a weird series. I think they didn't take them like serious. It was a few guys, but then when they got punched in the mouth a few times, especially the game that everybody thought they were going to close them out, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, this isn't great. And this isn't like, but, those teams that have succeeded so much have that weird lackluster of like, oh, I need something to wake me up. And sometimes they just still just like, oh, we'll turn it on and it's too late. And then they get knocked out. In this particular situation, Steph's like, bro, why are we losing to these dudes? They're good, but they're not there yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I respect them, but they're not there yet. And I'm not ready to go home yet. Especially like this, you know what I mean? Because that's a whole nother situation. But I remember tweeting out that the Warriors backcourt would need 60. And obviously Clay was 1 for 9 at this particular time. And he's trying to find it. But I'm still questioning Mike Brown's decision to play Davis, over Mitchell.
Yeah.
Davis had a ridiculous amount of minutes, you know what I mean? And I thought he overplayed him in certain situations. And then he had Mitchell and Davis out there. And, but I'm also yelling at the screen, like, why is Kurt taking out Steph? Like, Steph has to just leave it all on the floor at this particular point. You know what I mean? And he came in and he put on a masterclass. Obviously, he has the most 50-point set game sevens now. But why do we have to get, a 50-point game out of Steph? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, to go into this next round, because there's no quick turnaround. Malik Monk spoke too soon. He pulled the Dylan Brooks. Even though I love Malik. You know what I mean? I love Monk.
And Malik was good in this series, man. He backed it up for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. He backed it up. I mean, I think he averaged 18 this series and just was continue to be, effective. But Sabonis, man, like, Kevon Looney kicked his butt. And with that situation, I could see Sabonis' bags being packed. You know what I mean? I think the Kings probably go all in and just move him at this point because, again, although he had a individual successful season, it's not what they're going to need. They need more to get over the hump moving forward.
I think it's premature with the Sabonis stuff. I agree with you that the team would probably be better off. I don't see the team moving off of him after the season they have.
I think it depends on like what the trade package would be, right? Like if you would get something big for him, then you're like,
but I think they can get something back at this point.
I don't think they're going shopping for him. I don't think if somebody calls with a package, that's you got to blow them away with an offer at this point. Look at where this team was, last year. I mean, we literally just we're shocked they made it as high as a 3 seed. And I think that's an important thing to look at. And I just don't see them. And we know organizations have a tendency to fall in love with dudes. And I just can't see that happen. I mean, Zach, you said it. You picked it 5th in your MVP ballot. Like, you're not going to be the only guy that has done that. There's going to be, I don't see the organization going like, there's an urgency to move him. I think they might look at it as, let's see how we do next year in the playoffs and whatnot. I agree with you. They need an upgrade over that. I don't think he's a playoff guy, but I think that's going to be something the organization isn't going to be willing to do. And I think that's going to be the big thing. And the other thing they're going to lean on is we were young. We just got there. This is our first playoff time. And, Dave said it. The lights were too bright. This was the first time in this entire series where I felt like they got nervous and the moment got to them a little bit.
So looking ahead, they now have an every other day series with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers, and that'll tip off tomorrow. I think it's Tuesday. Here's something interesting from our friends at betmgm.com. NBA Finals MVP odds. Jason Tatum plus 220. He's number 1. Number 2, Steph Curry plus 650. Number 3, Jokic and Jaylen Brown tied at plus 700. That's interesting. Kevin Durant at plus 1100, Joel Embiid at plus 1200, Devin Booker at plus 1400. LeBron is what is this? 8th at plus 1400. So I'm guessing they think the Warriors are gonna take care of business here in the second round. I don't know if it's that obvious. I think the Warriors at their best are better than the Lakers at their best. And look, I mean, the Lakers fucking smacked the Grizzlies in that game 6. I mean, I felt bad for the Grizzlies at one point, but But at the same time, like this may sound dumb. I thought in the last like 2.5 game, or not game 6, I felt like in half of game 4 and all of game 5, the Lakers did look old and slow. Now they rallied and they dominated in game 6. At the same time, I thought the Warriors for most of this series looked old and slow. They got two old ass, slow ass teams going every other day against each other. And so Dave, like, I wonder what kind of advantage either team has, or will it simply come down to the Warriors have home court?
I think the Warriors have shooting, right? And the Lakers have some shooting. They've got more shooting than they had before the deadline. But the Lakers can't make the Warriors look old and slow the way the Kings can. This is going to be an easier defensive series for the Warriors because they're not going to be chasing D'Lo and Austin Reeves around all those screens and dribble handoffs. Anthony Davis, not a threat to shoot. So they're like, when he gets outside, they're not going to guard him tight. Right. LeBron shot, like, what did he shoot in the last round from 3? I mean, he was gunning. Dude, he hit some big ones, but it was awful. For the Warriors, I actually think this should be an easier series than the one that they played against with the Kings. And this is not to take anything away from the Lakers, who have gotten, I mean, Anthony Davis's defense has been ridiculous. If he's going to maintain that level, that's going to be harder for the Warriors. But man, if you're the Lakers, do you want to chase Steph Curry around? No.
No. I don't think so, but I don't think they have a choice. And Vando's going to have the assignment, obviously, and then they're going to lean heavy on the shade with AD. And then potentially
Vando's good, Trey, but that's tough.
That's just
tough,
not,
man.
That's such a brutal one. And then and then on this offense, the Warriors are just going to be like, we're not guarding him. Mm-hmm. Like, you're playing 4-on-5 on offense. Like, that becomes such a massive issue for them.
I don't think it's easy, but I do think the Warriors get them in 6, right? I think the Lakers are going to squeeze them out because they have the confidence. They're riding high off of what they're doing. Like, Anthony Davis is like one of the best defensive players in the league. That last game to close it out. And then, LeBron was playing feud. But again, the Warriors not calling them old. This is, you know what I mean?
Right.
There's no motivation speech. Both of these teams had to be taunted to get up and play. Now, we got a lot of history between it. Steph, is licking at the chops. He wants number 5. LeBron wants number 5. And we've seen what the Warriors do, when their backs are against the wall. They have championship pedigree. I can't say the same for the Lakers. The Lakers have a few members from that team. I think it's LeBron and AD only left.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Right. And then I don't know what Tristan Thompson adds as far as veteran locker, leadership.
Nothing.
I mean, I don't want to knock him for that, but I mean, I still give him, he's been there before. But a lot of these new guys, they haven't seen the Warriors when it really counts, you know what I mean? And I think that obviously, if Jordan Poole gets his head out his ass and starts playing better, just a little bit better. He doesn't have to be great. I mean, he was so bad that they had to play him at the 1. And that's not even a great option to think about it. Like, Jordan Poole has to play the 1 because he's shooting so bad. He's making bad decisions. And the Warriors only have 2 primary ball handlers in Draymond and Steph. And you prefer Steph off the ball. But then maybe Moody, Moody gets those minutes early. Kuminga gets those minutes early. And Kerr finds a lockdown rotation of maybe 8 guys instead of playing Lamb and whoever else.
This is an Anthony Lamb series, guys. You don't know?
I just changed my pick to the Lakers.
That's Anthony Lamb's music, guys. He's gonna play basketball in this series.
It's gonna be an Anthony Lamb Mo Bamba series.
Kuminga is out of the rotation. I mean, he is just he's been lost when he was out there, and it was a failure on everyone's part not to figure out a role for him, because that athleticism and size is really what they needed. And especially you start looking at a series like the Lakers, it's like, okay, well, this is a guy that you could maybe put on LeBron. You can, he should be like a nice roving defender for you, but he doesn't have a place in rotation.
I think this is one of those things where they're just going to reset the rotation. I think that's really what Steve Kerr is going to go back to. And I think every series presents different challenges. So I think they're going to give Kuminga a run early in this series and see how he handles
I'd play him against
stuff.
Hachimura for sure, right? I'd see, like, can he overpower him with his athleticism? Can he keep up with him on the perimeter? Like, I think it's actually a nice matchup for Kuminga to get a chance. It's Steve Kerr, so who knows?
We'll see if he sticks, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the thing. I think like every series is reset. Okay, what's going to hurt us this series? Who do we need? So on and so forth. Moody, I mean, I'm glad you brought him up. He was pretty big for them in this game
Had
7.
some
And I
moments,
thought
yeah.
really the past couple
Yeah.
games,
Well, just in
he
the
made some
series,
plays.
hopefully, again, I hope that Steve Kerr keeps him in the rotation and just doesn't kind of just, all right, hey, play here a little bit, play there. You got to earn your bit. No life teachable lessons. This dude is really, effective. But yeah, I'm excited for this series, obviously, because this is the 5th time LeBron and Steph have met.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this is, in the words of Miles Brown, this is the longest franchise since Fast and the Furious. So
it is.
Let's do it.
They're almost there. All right, let's move on to I cannot look. I've been talking a lot of shit. Like, this is gonna shock like heat culture, baby. Right? I've been saying it for years. I've been like, I got a lot of Knicks fans who are like, "Yo, we're gonna go to college." I was like, "You guys are gonna get smacked by the Heat, like smacked." Right? I'm talking shit. Admit it. Like, yep, it's on a pod now, so if they end up winning, it's gonna sound real stupid, and Knicks fans are gonna come after me. I don't care. I think the Heat are way better. Like, I just do. I think the Knicks are good, but I think the Heat know how to play better. And
being
then
in New York, I was gonna say the city atmosphere was unreal, right? Yeah. Basketball's better when the Knicks is there.
Absolutely.
Patrick Ewing's in the building. No Randall. So I got fans telling me, you know what? It's Obi Toppin's time. You see, and the first half, they actually were rolling. They were rolling.
He was
spacing,
chucking.
things
Obi
were looking
chucking.
good. Guys were driving, guys were staring guys down.
Yeah.
Second half hits.
Adjustments, man.
Adjustments. And I told one Knicks fan, I'm like, basketball is a game of runs. Do you understand this? This is Spo's a very good coach. Don't forget, and here we are. And I loved it. I held my breath when Jimmy went down.
That's the thing.
I was
That's
just kind of
Trey. When Jimmy rolled that ankle and Josh Hart's foot went into it, I thought the way, because it was such a weird like Hart slips as Jimmy kind of rolls his ankle and Hart kind of slips into him. And I thought the way Jimmy was down, I thought either he's going to be completely fine or he's broken his ankle. Like, I didn't think it was like a sprain. I was like, I wonder if he broke this shit because of the way he was down. So as Jimmy's rolling and he's like kind of feeling his way through the game, he gets this injury. And I thought, well, they're screwed. There's the series, right? And then he shoots the free throws because he has to stay in the game, right? But when he stays in the game, I'm like, okay, he's going to shake it off. That dude was a decoy. But they didn't really like use him as decoy. He took that one shot from the corner and there was no lift. Like, he just threw it at the rim. Like, it was crazy how little there was. And so as that's happening, I'm like the rest of the basketball world, okay, like the Knicks are just going to attack him. And they didn't. And then they didn't attack him again. And then they didn't attack him again. And then there one time they looked like they were going to attack him and it didn't materialize right away. They're like, well, we tried, and just like went to another option. And they had 5 minutes and 5 seconds. It was a 3-point game. Well, I guess technically a 5-point game when he got hurt because he hit the 2 free throws, right? You couldn't figure out in 5 minutes and 5 seconds how to attack the guy who's in pain and can barely move? What the fuck, Tom Thibodeau? What are you doing? What are you doing? Like, you have
you
all these options.
You got to put it on the players too, though, Zach. You can't just give it tips.
But
because they didn't smell blood. They didn't smell blood.
That's fine, but you can get that wrong in the moment. His job is to fucking coach him to attack. Like, how do you mess that up? How do you mess that up? It's not even that,
Zach. The one play where they did attack him, they brought a screen over so that he can so Jimmy can switch off.
Yeah.
In that instance, and then he just played help defense, and he even threw his hand in to play a little help defense from the weak side. Like, it wasn't even. And I was screaming at the TV. What are you doing?
I couldn't go at him. I just couldn't believe the mercy.
Does Tibbs love him too much? He's his special boy. He can't try to show him up. It would dishonor the game. I honestly, if Tom Thibodeau was like, you know what, we're not attacking Jimmy. I mean, would that shock you?
Yo, you know who would have attacked Jimmy? Jimmy would have attacked
Jimmy. Would have killed him.
Jimmy would have gone right at Jimmy, and Jimmy would have won that game by 10. He would have.
Yeah. The Knicks really did blow this, though. I mean, look, the bottom fell out of their shooting completely. I mean, they just Obi Toppin, you said he was jacking up shots. They were open shots.
Yeah.
Dude, they missed in the second half of that game. They missed so many open shots, and you could see it start to compound, right? Like they started pressing because the ball was moving. It was finding open shooters. I think the offense was doing a good job of actually getting looks. They were making Miami look or work, but they were missing everything.
Hey, man. Anybody can shoot in the regular season.
That's right.
Like anybody can shoot in the regular season. This was shit.
They needed ABC, Julius Randle.
Madison Square Garden.
They needed Julius Randle in the second half of this game for some easier buckets because they just weren't getting anything.
Julius Randle doesn't get you easier buckets, so that's the problem.
He can get his own shot up.
Then dribble.
He gets himself tough buckets.
That's it.
Yeah.
But they
it's
just
all isolation
score.
stuff. But like their thing, when we're talking about, they're the worst 3-point shooting team in the playoffs, even in the first round. Like that's the thing. When I looked at Jalen Brunson's stats from the first round of the playoffs, he was shooting below 30% from three. I think it was a great game plan from Miami because they were getting killed in the paint in the first half.
That was the thing. They got annihilated in the paint. I think there was like 18-4 in paint points in the first quarter.
Oh, at one point, I think it was like 30-10 or something like that. It was something ridiculous where it was like they were killing them in the paint to the point that Spo said
slightly more than the stat I just gave. So that's good. Good correction.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it. But it's deeper in the game. But the more important thing was Spo just came back and just completely at halftime said, "Fuck it, pack the paint. Let's make them shoot shots." And they were wide. Everybody got wide open shots, corner threes, everything, and they couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. It was unbelievable.
And then to compound their misses, they were getting beat in transition time after time. Like Kevin Love is a great outlet passer. Kevin Love should not be throwing outlet passes for easy buckets.
Hey,
that was throwback, baby, man. You weren't
back.
in the target center when he's hitting Corey Brewer in stride. You weren't there. You don't understand.
Seen Aaron Rodgers in the building and had to show who had the real
watch this.
He had to ice his arm afterwards, like the way a pitcher does. Like
the Knicks, the Knicks missed. They started missing so many shots that I think they got stuck ball watching their own shots a little bit, right? Like hoping that they were going to drop, and then the Heat would get the rebound, and Jimmy was just taking off. That was like a huge game plan change. And
I think there's a psychological aspect to that where it's like you're struggling to shoot as a team, right? And so you are kind of just like ball watching as the shot goes in the air, wondering, all right, is this going to break the dam? Like, are we finally going to get some floodgates here? And I think I really think that's a real thing, and that's a sign of still a young team that's trying to figure out how to adjust in the moment. And they'll probably come out in game 2 and win and be better. And I guess we don't know Jimmy's status at this point when we're recording, but look, they can't. I seriously think like Gabe Vincent is a matchup problem for the Knicks.
Do you Gabe Vincent's off good, Evan
Fournier? Gabe Iverson.
It's amazing.
Do you dust off Evan Fournier to do what?
To shoot threes. If they're gonna play defense like that, you need somebody to make threes.
Dude, I think you're gonna give up more.
You need somebody to make threes.
It's game 2. If you're dusting off Evan Fournier,
you might as well go home.
Over.
Yeah, you might as well
just say
you need to go to Miami.
That's a card they've got to be thinking about for later in the series if it continues to go like that.
I'll tell you this.
Jay, he played 4 games to close the season when they were kind of just resting guys. Do you want to guess how many threes he made?
I'm not saying it's going to go well. I'm just saying.
Do you want to guess how many threes?
I wouldn't dust him off to play for Team France.
He made 2 threes in 4 games.
4-game sample size. That's fine. Evan Fournier.
The playoffs are a small sample size.
Wide open. He's at least going to command somebody's attention. The other big problem for the Knicks, I thought, R.J. Barrett down the stretch just lost his scruples. Attacking. He was overeager, and you talk about not going at Jimmy Butler. Part of it was just R.J. Barrett was not.
He was going Leroy Jenkins, just like charging in.
He had so many brain farts, like it was ridiculous.
Which is crazy because he was so good in the first half.
He had a really good game, like for the most part. But last 5 minutes, it was just bad decision after bad decision.
To be fair, they got in his head. Yeah. They got in his head, and when they kept talking, it was like, we got him, we got him. And, he self-imploded, and that was the game.
All right. We need to discuss this. Do we think Duncan Robinson signed Tyler Hero's cast on his own, or is that something Jimmy made him do? Because I kind of lean towards the latter. We need someone to uncover this. We need Will Guillory to like do an investigative report. I need to know why
he's
Duncan.
the only one.
Well,
no, because
I think
Jimmy's.
because
Jimmy,
right. I can see Jimmy just be like,
Jimmy
Duncan signed the cast, nobody else sign it. If I see another signature out there, I'm gonna fucking beat your ass. Like,
if Zach's right, it's just that.
Yeah,
but I think it's
like just a random like, look, you want to get back in this rotation? You want to hit some threes? Like, you better sign that cast. You're gonna be the only one.
When is Jimmy Butler breaking out the like reciprocating saw to take off Tyler Hero's cast?
Oh no!
You think he needs that saw?
He's gonna rip that shit. Yeah. He's gonna rip that shit, or he's gonna be like, he's gonna tell Tyler, all right, be the Rock in Fast 6. You got to break that shit on.
You want to play?
7.
That's what that's what he should do at shoot around. He should, when he's coming in, break it open.
Say, hey, Tyler, you have to say, Daddy's got to go to work, and then you just flex, and then they're just gonna watch him flex until he breaks through that thing. What do you guys have for this series before game one, and does game one and or Jimmy's status change your pick, Mo?
I had the Knicks in 7. I thought it was going to be a tough thing. Yeah, coward's pick. That's fine. I'm not a problem with that. Jimmy's status, I think, concerns me, but I just think watching them after this game might go Heat at 6, assuming Jimmy's fully healthy. If Jimmy can play and he's on the court, like I can feel like he can will this stuff. And you guys said it. They got into RJ's head. They couldn't make shots. I don't know really how many more adjustments, and I don't think Randall coming back whenever he does really fixes that much.
Think about this real quick. Spo might have the easiest coaching path. Like, let's say they get to the finals, right? Like, I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves, and there's Boston and everything. It's still this series too. Knicks can come back, but to coach against Bud, to coach against Tibbs, let's pretend the Sixers win, and he goes against Doc Rivers.
Like Missoula, even if he coaches against Missoula,
we're saying Tibbs.
In terms of zero adjustments throughout a series, yeah, zero adjustments. Like Spo's on cruise control coaching them. Like, now, granted, a lot of play has to happen. I'm just saying from just a pure coaching versus coaching standpoint. From like
Knicks and 6, man.
Knicks and 6.
Knicks and 6.
And it's tough because the Miami Heat are like Schrodinger's cat of basketball teams, right? They're neither good nor bad, and it depends on each game. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes it's different half of basketball. This team has shot the ball. They were 27th in three-point shooting in the regular season, and they literally shot the Bucks out of the playoffs. I don't know.
They were really good the last like 17 games, though.
Yeah. Okay. Small sample. I don't know.
But they were also second in the league the year before with the
Kevin
same
Love.
roster.
If you're telling me Jimmy Butler is good to go, shit, man, Heat in 5, maybe, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I thought Knicks in 7 was a totally reasonable like toss up, but leaning toward the Knicks being able to shoot. But now I don't know how you go against the Heat here.
I'm sorry. If you pick the home team in game 7, like home team in 7, it's a coward's pick. Yeah,
it is a coward pick.
It is.
It is a coward's pick. But I think I'm going Heat in 6 at this point.
Nope. And sometimes it's what happens, but I don't care. It's still a coward's pick. It could be accurate.
If Jimmy's healthy, I'm going Heat in 6 because I think that Jimmy is on another level right now.
The one easy adjustment for the Knicks would be just make shots.
Go at the guy with 1 foot. I'd go at the guy with 1 foot. That's what I do.
But like Jalen Brunson 0 for 7, RJ Barrett 1 for 5, and as I recall, those were wide open looks. Josh Hart 0 for 4, wide open looks. Like, if the Heat are going to live with those looks, it's a totally different game if they just shoot like 35%. And I don't think that's too big an ask because the guys they're leaving open are capable of making shots. Julius Randle is going to come back. He's more capable of making shots sometimes.
I guarantee if the adjustment is Julius Randle, go shoot some threes, Eric Spoelstra will live with that.
Actually,
it's a 5-game series. It's
the thing is,
4, maybe.
I actually think this is an Obi Toppin series for the Knicks. I actually think that they should keep him in the starting lineup, but maybe you run Randle out there on bench units when shit's not going well. The problem is Julius Randle's not going to be happy with that.
Yeah. There's two guys I trust for the Knicks. It's Jalen Brunson and it's Josh Hart. I trust those guys for the Knicks. Everyone else, like this idea of like you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. Nah. Like they have to prove it.
Well,
They
I trust
legitimately
Mitchell
have to prove it.
Robinson, but he was mitigated in the second half. When they started packing the paint, they kept him off the glass, and that changes everything for the Knicks. Mitchell Robinson's rebounding is hugely important for them.
And maybe that's where Julius Randle then can actually make an impact is on the offensive boards. But man, like I just think he's going to ruin a lot of the flow of what they do. He might have a game, but over the whole of the series, like I don't know. I think it's a bad matchup trying to get Julius Randle to go against this Heat defense.
And I think it's a great matchup for Julius, honestly, because it's either going to be Kevin Love guarding him, and the rest of Miami's rotation is smaller guys. Because Bam is probably going to be on Mitchell Robinson. You got to keep him off the glass.
But you got to take away the lob. Like the ball was moving, the ball was flowing. They're getting open shot. Like that's gonna Julius Randle isn't a guy incapable of playmaking, but he's a ball stopper.
On top of that, you're talking about even when it's the smaller guys on him, then he's got to go guard those guys, and those guys are active. You put him on Caleb Martin, he's giving up offensive rebounds because Martin's going to come crashing in from the corner and things like that. Like those are the plays that you have to live with that, and you have to hope you get enough from him offensively. And I don't think you're going to. Yeah, honestly, I don't think you do.
This has to be a series where Jalen Brunson takes over. Like Jalen Brunson has to be the guy.
I was going to say that third quarter, Julius Randle, and that late fourth quarter, Julius Randle was missed. Like those down times where you just need a bruiser and that's somebody that's as aggressive, whether he makes it or not, and get to the line. That's what they truly needed. And everybody else is kind of finesse. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the Heat is, they like to play physical. And if they can punk you, they can punk you. You know what I mean? And in that situation, they got punked. So, in this situation, I do think that Jalen Brunson is going to have a better series. Kyle Lowry's IQ stepped up in their big. You know what I mean? Like, so they made some young mistakes and was forced to that way. But I just think this has a potential. Obviously, the Knicks fans are kind of delusional sometimes, but they kind of match up really well in some extent when they're all healthy. You know what I mean? With no Tyler Hero, I just still leaning on the Knicks to kind of figure it out, do some adjustments, especially if Jimmy's kind of ginger. You know what I mean? And that with his ankle.
That to me, that's the only saving grace for the Knicks in the series is that Jimmy got hurt.
Yep,
that's it. Like I think he's too good. He's too good they have no one to match him.
He's the best player in the series, and it's nowhere close.
Yeah,
this is not like him and Giannis could potentially go back and forth on any given night. He is the best player in the series, and Jalen Brunson's next probably, but it's a long way before you get there.
Because Bam's afraid of the ball. Bam's afraid of the ball, so it's Jalen Brunson next.
By the way, another point pro Randall here is that Heat bigs committed 2 fouls the whole game. Kevin Love had 1 and Bam had 1. There was just no pressure at the basket. No, they weren't bumping down there at all, and that's where Randall could muck it up a little bit and maybe just create a little bit more pressure for Miami.
All right. Something that got ugly was game 1 of Denver versus Phoenix. Phoenix just does not have depth. And we knew they didn't have depth, but it shouldn't be this bad where Chris Paul had a moment in that game. DeAndre Ayton was okay for a little bit, but if Kevin Durant and Devin Booker aren't cooking, I don't think Denver's going to play this way all series. I think there will be some ebb and flow. But shit, someone's got to step up and to me that Cameron Payne's getting garbage time is a sign of just how bad it is.
They got worked, and KD and Devin Booker both did their thing, and they got worked.
I think they make adjustments. I think
KD was not good. KD was sloppy as fuck.
I think DA, he had a lot of turnovers. KD has to clean it up. There's that's the story. You know what I mean? Normally when you're critiquing Durant, it's unforced turnovers. It is kind of Bruce Brown got a chance to pick you. You know what I mean? If you show your cards, it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? In those situations. But I do think that he didn't make an excuse for that situation. He understands. And also, although people like myself are picking the Suns in 7, you have to respect the Nuggets. They're 1 seed for a reason, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I don't think that they're going to have completely a game like they had game 1 throughout this series. Jamal Murray, we haven't seen that since in a while. And we make jokes about the bubble Murray, but it's just a healthy Murray. And as long as he stays healthy and other guys are making shots and other guys are stepping up, they look like the favorites to win this series. But I just think that, once Monty starts to use timeouts and starts to actually coach this team, they'll have a better chance at winning this series.
The adjustment, you're so right, Trey, on just Monty's got to do a better job. They went away from like KD and Booker in the third quarter at one point. It really felt like there were just not enough touches for them. And I know they weren't at their best, but you're not winning this game or any playoff game without those guys getting the majority of your touches. And they have to be monsters when they get it. And I think it just felt like there were too many possessions where both Booker and KD were just standing on the weak side and were just kind of observers of the offense and not participants. And I think that was a massive problem for them in that game. And Monty's got to do better with that.
Yeah, I also think, Jay, I think that for the Suns, like, look, they shredded the Clippers in the mid-range. You got to get to the basket. You can get to the basket against this Nuggets team, and they just didn't. Like, it felt like they were never at the rim. And Denver played really good defense, but I don't look at that defense and think like that's unsolvable for those guys.
Yeah, the thing about Denver though is they do have a lot of size around Jokic. They have athleticism around Jokic. And if they have places where they can send help off of you, then they can be really good in that because they've spent all season like just covering up for Jokic, basically. And this Suns team has a lot of guys that you can help off of and do it intelligently. And like you said, they have to be able to find a way to get to the rim. They have to be able to produce 3-pointers too. And part of that is on the guys, Durant and Booker, just, move some of that stuff a little bit out. But also the supporting cast has to be able to shoot. And I think Damian Lee, I think they need to lean more on him. I don't know why they haven't. He is a very good shooter. He is a knockdown shooter. And if you help off him, then you're in trouble. And I just think they need a threat. It's not necessarily that he's a great player. Obviously he's not, but they just need threats around those guys. And then the other part of this, continuity matters, man. Like these guys were just thrown together on the run, and they're playing against a Nuggets team that knows exactly what they want to get, that knows exactly how to do it, that Jokic and Murray, like they've done this so many times before, and they know exactly how to beat every type of coverage. They've seen everything. They know exactly what they want, and the Suns just don't. And Murray really, when he gets going, it's so tough to guard them.
Man. It's an avalanche
because then it's like, what do? Do you send two at Murray? Because then you open up Jokic, and then if you open up Jokic, you're screwed because he's going to pick you apart either by himself or with the passing. And then if you don't send two at Murray, he's huge. He can get his shot off against basically any guard, and you're just in so much trouble. And if he's playing at this high a level, they are as serious a contender as it gets.
Dave, I don't think you can kind of trick Jokic into this, because especially not the way they run the offense, but I almost think like it's a Spurs Steve Nash situation where you just have to tell DeAndre Ayton, look, stay out of foul trouble the best you can. You have to eat 45 tonight.
Yeah.
Like you just we're not sending help. We're not, and again, it's not like they isolate Jokic and then do the it's the split cuts and everything. Like they do a great job of running that. But if you can communicate off the ball and you just tell Ayton, like, you have to eat this tonight.
Jokic didn't even really have a good game. That's my biggest takeaway from game one, is that Jokic wasn't even the Jokic level. DeAndre Ayton was not felt at all by Jokic. I think Jokic had one foul in the game.
He had the best seat in the house.
Right. That's literally it, man. And so, to me, the story is it's both ways with Ayton. Ayton needs to get out of the mid-range, and he needs to get in the paint. And I don't want to be the guy who's like Shaq out here, but he has to put pressure as a roll man, as a post-up guy, whatever. He has got to make Jokic work at the other end. They will get more stuff offensively. I mean, he's a good passer, Ayton is. I think that maybe trying to take some of those opportunities, just try to attack Jokic a little bit, make him work, get on the free throw line some, which I know is not his game at all. But Jokic in game one, I thought, that wrist clearly looked like it was bothering his shot. Yeah. He doesn't want to take threes at all right now. And the worst thing that could happen is for Jokic to get going, because then You talk about Jamal Murray being an avalanche. What's it like when Jokic is going too? That's a disaster for Phoenix. So I think they got lucky that he had a bad game because it could have been worse.
Yeah, but also I think on top of that, you can look at it from the other side of like, well, what happens when KD and Booker get going, right? Because they're not like, I didn't think they were good. I know they combined for like 56 or something like that. I thought they played a bad game. Like
that 7 turnovers for KD was a lot.
Yeah, 7 turnovers, 1 assist.
But Dave, I want to go back to your
7
point.
turnovers for anybody's a lot.
Yes,
What we doing? You know,
well, if it was Trae Young, we'd all be like, "Oh, only 7."
Yeah, if it's Luka, we're good with it. You know,
but
it's also pace too, and I think like also fans listening, you have to understand also the home court advantage of playing in Denver. You know what I mean? Like you're running. It's like feeling all that in your chest while you're going up.
Oh
and
yeah,
down.
definitely don't jog in Denver if you don't live there. Like if you're visiting Denver, don't go for a jog.
Do you care about Sixers Celtics? Jay excluded. Because with Joel Embiid hurt, I gotta say like my interest is low.
I'm more concerned. I'm more interested in why Harden was at the Flamingo. Well, out of all places, man. Why?
He has questionable decision making in the playoffs. The Flamingo that's a decision, man. That's a decision. No, man, if like Embiid's doubtful for game 1, I guess we'll find out if he's actually gonna play, if this is all a built-in excuse or a ruse or whatever. But man, like I don't want to like Jay, I mean, it could be ugly even if he's healthy, historically, with the Sixers and the Celtics.
Have you seen the betting lines on BetMGM? The Celtics are like minus 500 to win the series.
Oh boy.
Which suggests that Vegas believes that Joel Embiid is going to have an extended absence, and if he does come back, he will not be at full strength. And obviously you don't want to put a ton of faith into the betting lines, but it sounds ominous regarding Embiid.
He had platelet-rich plasma injection in the playoffs. Yeah, like that's ominous.
It's ideal.
It sounds really ominous.
This is not ideal. Like, is not enough. That's
which is
terrible.
It sucks.
It was not he's been icing his knee. No, the guy had an injection. I mean, it's insane.
It sucks, man. This would have been an awesome series between a guy who's historically had trouble against the Celtics and then just figured them out and has crushed them for the last couple of years as individually. Hasn't each time the first time they met in the playoffs was the Marco Bellinelli Sixers, and that was a super close
confetti game.
It was a 5-game series, but every game was really close and could have gone the other way. Second time, Ben Simmons was out. Celtics just stomped them. That wasn't a fair fight at all. But this time, it's the best team around Embiid that he's had. And so he's so much better than he's been in the past, and so much more difficult to handle because all the post-ups have turned into like ISOs at the top of the key, and it just gives them much better spacing. And I just want to see him healthy. The poor guy has never been healthy in the playoffs. Every year it's something different, and he's going to win the MVP sometime this week. I just wish he was healthy. This sucks.
Yeah,
it's sad because he's probably going to win MVP, and I assume they'll give it to him this week, and he may not be able to play. Right? Yeah. And you know that's a real bummer, like on a personal level. But for us, like we're missing out on a piece of the story here because I actually think that this Sixer team had a shot to go to the finals. I mean, like you mentioned, Embiid, this is the best team they've had around him. Embiid is playing his best basketball. He owns the Celtics now, just out of nowhere, just figured them out completely. And the Celtics look a little shaky to me in the first round against Atlanta. They a lot of their weaknesses sort of popped up. And I think this was like a perfect opportunity for the Sixers. But if he's going to miss game 1, it almost certainly is going to be a loss. B-Ball Paul is good, but I don't think he's, on the level of Rob Williams.
I'm so fucking sick of hearing about B-Ball Paul, such a mediocre ass role player. Like the analytics community, you guys got to stop.
You guys
stop it. This dude doesn't play.
He doesn't. He
doesn't
play. if he was as good as people think, he would play a lot more. Plain and simple, because they've been looking for a backup.
He doesn't play as much as Rui Hachimura. And I swear to God,
Rui's the truth now. Rui's the truth.
All right, I'm done with this pod. Okay,
right,
thank you for
right.
listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Subscribe to The Bounce. Subscribe to The Athletic. Get out of here. I'm done.